Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here to help you save some money, this time talking about flash camcorders. Those are camcorders that record on little flash cards instead of using tape or hard drives or those sorts of things. Now, believe it or not, those types of camcorders have been around for a very long time. Here we have one that's probably, 5 or 6 years old. It's kind of cute, looks like a little camcorder. In fact, in its day, it was really tiny. But you know what? They never took very good pictures. And then a company called Flip came along and developed a very simple camcorder that took decent enough video, and this whole trend was really launched. Add to that YouTube and posting your videos on site. Boy, camcorders of this type have become very popular. Now, many of us need to have a camcorder, or we want a camcorder to record certain events in our lives, like the changes in our children, or maybe a vacation, or perhaps we want to send a birthday greeting to a family member or a friend who's out of state. And these cameras are really perfect for that. But they don't offer the same quality as a camera that costs maybe $1,000 or even $500. But for most people, we don't need that. I went to a Walmart the other day and found this impulse purchase. This is a DXG 567 VHD camcorder, and for about $90 it promises HD video plus all sorts of accessories. It had 2 sets of rechargeable batteries, all sorts of cables, lots of software, pouches, etc. And I thought, gee, that's really interesting. When I got home, however, I read the reviews on it and they weren't very good. So instead of just doing a review on this camera, I thought I would compare it to a similar camera. This is the Flip Ultra. This is a HD camera supposedly. This is only a VGA camera. This comes with lots more accessories. This comes with less. This one sells for about $90. You can get this one for about $100 online. Let's see which one really works better. You might be surprised. But let's take a look at this camera in a little more detail. The one thing you'll notice is that it's roughly the size of the Ultra. It's actually a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's probably not accurate, but a little bit bigger and a tiny bit longer, so it does feel larger in your hand. This camera has a little more quality feel. It has this kind of rubberized front on it. There's a lot of things that go on with this camera, and probably the 2 nicest things is that it has an SD card slot, so you can actually put limitless amounts of memory in it by just switching out slots or cards. And it also has a bigger viewfinder than on the Ultra. So on the surface, it looks like it's a better camera to begin with. This one, so it comes with more accessories. It also has a lot more software. The Ultra has software that loads directly when you just plug it in, when you kind of release its USB little connector and plug it into the computer. And that software is very simple, but adequate to do things like very, very simple editing, or to post your video on YouTube or maybe in an email, that sort of a thing. It's definitely adequate for simple use. The DXG, however, comes with a much more robust software suite that you actually have to load from disks onto your computer. And therein lies the problem, because a lot of people that are using these types of cameras don't want to load 4 different programs and then try to sort through those programs to figure out what they need. In a way, though, it's a good idea, because this uses the MOV envelope for its video. In other words, the extension is, let's say Mike's video.mov. This uses the more standard Windows AVI envelope, so like Mike's video.avi. Windows computers like the AVI envelope. They do not like the MOV envelope. And I've used a lot of different software. It's bulky, it's hard, sometimes it won't play, sometimes you have to modify it, you have to transcode it if it's an MOV. It just doesn't work terribly well in Windows. And I did a written review on a different camcorder a couple years ago, and I had that complaint. I thought for sure it would change now. A few years later, it hasn't changed. It's very difficult. They do provide you with a piece of software called VideoWorks by Presto. It's a decent, simple piece of video editing software, but it's somewhat crippled when you try to render, because you want to render in a format, let's say for YouTube, a VGA format, but that option isn't available. So even there you have some difficulty. So I would say the bulk in software for most people is not going to be a good idea, because it complicates it for the simple user and most more sophisticated users are going to want to use better software. So I think that's kind of a no-go. So we've talked about the software, we've talked about the accessories. Let's look at the video now, because that's really the key when it comes to these cameras. And I think you're going to be surprised. This one is 720p, so this is like entry-level HD. This should be much clearer, much better than this one here, which is VGA, which is 640. I think this one looks better. I'm giving you kind of a heads up on that right now. But let's take the video, look at the video and see what we can come up. All right, here we have the DXG camera on a bright day. You can see it's very soft, not a lot of detail. Here's the Ultra, a little more pixelated, but a lot more color depth, a lot more detail. Just more interesting to look at. Here's the flower using the macro mode. Again, very soft, not a lot of detail. If we switch over to the Ultra, we're going to see that with no macro mode, it looks better, and has a lot more depth, a lot more detail. Just looks better. Here's a street scene. You saw some cars move by on the DXG. Again, soft, kind of washed out looking. Here's the Ultra. It looks a lot more interesting, and there goes a car. Just generally looks better. If we switch over to another scene, we're going to have my son, and he's going to be running around. He's running around with the this is the DXG, and it doesn't look too bad. I mean, he looks okay. That softness kind of helps with the depth, but you don't see a lot of detail. And here he is with the Ultra. Here again, more depth, more color, better contrast, just a much more interesting video, and I think it overall looks better. Here's a brightly lit room. He's hamming on the piano. Again, he almost looks like it's soft, like he's being filmed through gauze or something like that, sort of that Loretta Young look. Here comes his sister. She is interfering with his video, so he's upset. Only kidding, he's not that upset. But let's switch over to the Ultra, and here again I think just looks generally better, sharper, clearer, better contrast. The colors in some ways are better, just has more depth, and so I would say generally this would be a more enjoyable video to watch. Okay, here we have the DXG at twilight, so it's not really dark outside, but dark enough that you'd use a lamp. And I think, you actually do have some reasonable sensitivity, but you can see that the shutter speed has really gone down, and you get a little bit of tracing. Here's the Ultra, much better, much smoother, much better colors, more interesting to look at. As I pan over, there's not that jello look. When my daughter here turns around and waves, there's not that little bit of after trace. Well, there you have it, the two cameras. My vote, even though this comes with less, it's slightly more expensive, and it has lower resolution, I would go with the Flip Ultra versus the DXG. It just has a better picture, and that's what it's all about. I think that a picture is more than just the lines of resolution. It's the quality of the lens, the quality of the codec, it's the chip that's converting everything. It's a lot of different things that are happening in the camera. I also think that this camera maybe has a softer focus, a very, very soft focus, to hide some defects in those areas. So by making it a very soft focus, you're not going to see all the pixelation or other problems that you might see in a better focus. So I don't know if that's the case or not. Either way, it's okay. If you have it, you're going to use it, you'll get decent video, but this lesser camera is really a better camera.